decided to adopt again. And this time, it was a little boy named Jeremy.
I've got to run this through. Obviously...
I'll probably fill in bits in between as well.
No, it's not even about that. Adoption hits close to home for me anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm fine today, and I've been fine probably for the past 10 years or so. But at one point, there were certain topics that were really going to rile me. One of them was adoption. Okay.
And we saw him.
Yeah. And these guys don't know. Yeah, these guys don't know.
So which was really nice.
Jonathon.
Yeah, that your brother who was adopted when you was younger.
Yeah.
So you went into foster care and he was adopted elsewhere, so you hadn't been living in the same house for a long time. And then you'd kind of met up as adults.
Yep.
And then hadn't sort of physically seen each other for, I think it was about 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, probably, and then some.
So it was really nice, and especially for me as well, because I got to meet him for the first time.
It was brilliant.
It was really, I got to meet someone from your family for the first time.
Yeah. And that's
so it was lovely.
How strange is that for most marriages? They say, I've never met somebody from your family. And we've been together
when I've
how
got
long?
a big family and we're in and out of each other's pockets, I get that.
Yeah, you are constantly. Constantly.
So,
which in some ways is
but that's
great.
what I grew
in some
up with,
ways
and that's what
I know.
we love being part of a big family. And it's really hard because we have it on two very different,
very opposite scales. Very opposite scales.
So it's sometimes hard to combine the two. I understand that.
But it was really, really nice, and I absolutely loved it. And for me, it was nice you got to meet you.
I'm really sorry that he was really tired and that his car broke down on the way home.
We're not going to be all polite about it. That was his fault. It's his dopey old car. If he wants to turn up, do a 2.5 hour, 4-hour trip?
It probably took him about 6.5 hours.
And then, and then of course he's going to be tired. That's his fault. Blame him for that.
Took him a lot longer on the way home, having to be towed here, there and everywhere before he could get home. Bless him.
Most important for me, as much as I really enjoyed it, is he got to see my kids. I mean, how many times do we mention, I can say this accurate name from the book because it's there, but how many times have I said, I wonder what Lee would think of the kids? Hundreds of times. And that's...
He'd probably drive me crazy.
He was totally off his rock box. He was totally insane. I would probably be forever being like, dude, you can't say that, or you can't do this, or she's 8, stop trying to sellotape her to the ceiling, or whatever, because he was off his trolley. But he was also one of the best guys I've ever met. And so it was really nice for me, for my brother, to be able to meet my kids. And he did. He sat playing chalk and played games with them and did a bit of karate and taekwondo and whatever.
Yeah.
It was nice.
I think that's the thing. It was really nice.
So you've totally threw me off track.
Yeah,
talking about my brother. So the adoption thing, in the past, I wouldn't have been able to talk about it. This is where I was going, right? I understand there's a logic behind it. But was the obsession with changing every single thing about him? I mean, take my brother. He had a little bit of a squint in the eye, and obviously they fixed his eye. And in this case, you'd say, it was medical, it was an improvement.
Yeah, that I
But
understand.
I don't think there was anything wrong with his sight. It was just, we don't like him looking this way, we're going to change it. And in every single instance of adoption, it's name change, name change, name change. I know it's to hide their identity. I know it's because they're moving around, but if I was adopting a kid, my mindset wouldn't be your mind, that's it, everything else is closed off. My mindset would be best interest of the child, and I know the social services drill this line and it's been morphed into 1,000 different things, some of which are accurate, some of which aren't. But my genuine interest would be best interest of the child, in which case, if this kid wants to know their family when they're older, they want to learn their identity.
I do actually know somebody who had a child, and they did have them adopted. They had the child when they was quite young.
I know what you mean. I forgot about this.
Yeah, they did have their child adopted when they was quite young. They named that child, and they know who that child was going to, sort of the new parents, as it were.
I didn't know
the
they
adopted
knew that.
parents. Yeah. And she kind of got to keep contact, I believe, if she wanted. And her name didn't change. She named her, and that was her name. Okay. So I think it's different with different ways of adoption, I believe.
I didn't actually know if that's the same person I'm thinking of, that they knew the family.
I think she was aware of, I don't think she knew the family, but I believe she got part of a decision on who the child was going to.
No. I don't know how to feel about
but I'm
that.
not sure.
Your faith, I think
don't quote me on it. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know
But
how
I believe she was aware
feel about that,
where
but
they
at the
was
same
going
time,
to.
you know, I'm very opinionated on things. I think your faith, and I think that makes it more sad.
So I don't know. I can't comment. I don't know too much on it, so I can't comment too much.
I think if you've made the choice to give your child up, you give your child up. You don't.
Yeah,
then
it's a hard. It's not something that I can understand really in that sense. It's, you know, obviously people go into foster care and adoption through different reasons.
Yeah, that's it.
At the same time as well, like you didn't go into.
I've been homeless twice. I can't judge
Because they gave you up.
I
was
know.
Different.
I know. Close friends, I'll say, that look down on people because they've been in council houses or because they're being private or because they don't own their own home or whatever nonsense it might be. Well, yeah, you know, I haven't.
That's the average every day.
I haven't, but yeah, some people do, and I've got to say there's things in the past which might be loosely related to that, and I can't.
This is why the world works, is because we are different, because we can talk, because we can debate, because we can live how we want to live.
Oh no, I heard somebody, I can't remember which cast it was, but they were saying recently as soon as they got, it was Evil Pudding, and I agree with them. They said as soon as they got enough money, they'd disappear off the grid. You know, 100% that's me. Cabin in the woods, little fire, as long as you get me the odd bit of Wi-Fi, that's it, I'm done.
That's just it.
I don't need to be debating.
We don't have to be the same and, you know, work in the middle of the city and, you know, the tallest tower block and making money on stocks and shares and hey, anyways.
Let's get back to this really important case.
So Jeremy Bamber was the son that they adopted.
Okay.
He was born Paul Marsham on the 13th of January 1961 in Kensington to a Juliet Dorothy Wheeler, a vicar's daughter who had an affair with an Army Sergeant Major Leslie Bryan Marsham, a controller at Buckingham Palace.
So these are big, big people. It's a controller at Buckingham Palace. The other one was the Archbishop.
I'm hoping that this is correct information. I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, you know, I'm sure saying things like this, that if it's not, somebody will be knocking on our door because of slander or
I'd like to know.
defamation or some
I love a bit of
half-arse law. So.
Jeremy was put up for adoption through the Church of England's Children's Society, and then Neville and June Bamber adopted him when he was 6 months old. So, Jeremy and Sheila, they both went to school at, I think it's Malden Court. Jeremy's first year being Sheila's last year, so they did have a bit of an age gap.
Well, yeah, it was but they 6 months when they went in, the other one. Oh, yeah, I see what you're doing.
School years, yeah. But they did enjoy apparently their time together at school.
Yeah.
Sheila was a gifted writer.
There you go, she's better than me already.
With a skill at short stories.
Okay.
She went to a school in Eastbourne called, I don't know if it's Moira or Moira, I can't read my writing.
Moira
House.
Well, that's Moura. I was going to do that in code then, but literally I couldn't remember motel. Motel, Oscar, uniform, Roger Alpha. It's not Roger, is it?
Maybe.
I need...
Anyways, a house in Eastbourne. But she was expelled from the school, but we don't know the reasons why she was expelled.
Okay.
Sheila went on to attend a boarding school in Norwich, and she loved it, and she made more friends and settled into all of the school's activities and like the after club schools that they had to offer.
Yeah, and I think it's brilliant. It's like our little one. Well, our eldest one. Yeah.
Our eldest one's not in boarding school though, just so as you know.
She's not in boarding school. And she hasn't been expelled, but she's...
Not yet.
Settled into it.
I think the second one might be expelled, but
she's very much more like her dad.
She starts school this year though, it's scary.
It's not, it's beautiful.
It's exciting, but scary.
Yeah.
As Sheila grew up, she often went to stay with friends during the school holidays, or they went to stay at the farm with her. And then after going to a finishing school in London, Sheila... Oh, yeah, no, I've put this in there. I'm going to say this bit, because apparently she did go on to work at various hairdressing salons. Now, this was in several, and then not in other ones. So we're not 100% sure.
This was on several websites and not on other websites.
Oh, did I leave out websites?
Yes.
Sorry.
And yes.
So Sheila, I think it's important because then I think I go on to say about it as well, that she kind of went back into it.
Okay, she did a hairdressing thing. Most women
to
do.
fill in between. I didn't. Sheila had always wanted to be a model, and so she started a career in fashion, and she soon met a man called Colin Caffell, and she became pregnant when she was 17. Now, apparently, the Bambers had arranged an abortion, and at this point...
Whoa, we've got to explain this. We can't just run in with... She always wanted to be a model and started a career in fashion. She met Colin and became pregnant. She was 17. The Bambers arranged an abortion. What? You can't just... There has to be a little bit more to the story. I don't understand. I mean, my daughter comes to me and goes, Dave down the road. I'm like, yeah, you've been seeing him a few weeks. What's going on? She goes, Dad, I've got something to tell you. I'm like, I'm pregnant. My first thought is not going to be, you're pregnant? Okay, cool, abortion. I don't necessarily want her to have this child at a really early age and necessarily destroy her life, but
at the time,
it's not going to be my first instinct. Oh, you're pregnant, abortion. It just doesn't.
I think bearing in mind at the time, it's not so much done now.
She's 17. She has her own mind. She's 17. She's
but not in the
12.
sense of her being 17, as in the year that she was pregnant.
No, I know what you're saying.
It was kind of different then, I believe. I'm definitely not condoning this. It's not something, obviously.
1985, because it was 3 years after I was. How
1985 is when the crime happened. So at this time, this would have been, we're talking late 60s, early 70s.
Paul Marsham, January 1961.
So Sheila was 17. She was born in 1957. So it had been in the 70s.
Okay,
so it's a little bit different then.
Yeah.
And I think it's also dependent on the family that you're with.
Yeah, because
and then it's very much churchgoers, and it's probably very much against. Outside of marriage.
I said something related to my history, and I've gone, oh yeah, we've done X, Y, and Z, and they've looked at you and gone, actually, is that normal? Like there was films that I used to watch as a kid. My uncle going, yeah, you can watch Nightmare on Elm Street, blah 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 blah. I was like, must have been what before my mom was killed, so 9. And okay, I didn't need to know that one wasn't normal for my 8-year-old, but I already knew that. But there's been several things where I've looked at you and I've been like, wait a minute, was that normal? And a couple of them you've actually been like, no, that wasn't normal.
But that's the thing as well. Everybody's got such different opinions and lives that it's hard to say what's right and wrong with some of them.
Still, my opinion, you don't just jump on that and go. You don't just jump on that and go abortion. Hey, you've got no rights. You're 17. Abortion.
Yeah, for my opinion, it's not something that I'd do. It was at this point when the Bambers apparently had arranged an abortion that their relationship, or Sheila's relationship with her mother in particular, had deteriorated significantly. And it said that in the summertime, when June found Sheila and Colin sunbathing naked in a field, June reportedly started calling Sheila the devil's child.
Right, so you're having this kid, you're pregnant, you found naked in a field, you are the devil's child. Okay.
Yes. It was noted down that June had depression and had been admitted to a psychiatric hospital in the 1950s, included in 1958, and that was after Sheila's adoption.
Okay. So she's already has the child with her then she started out suffering with depression.
She was given electric shock therapy at least 6 times. And in 1982, she was treated by Hugh Ferguson, a psychiatrist who later saw Sheila also. Maybe June's depression in the early days was when Sheila was young and she'd already made an early impact in their relationship, which didn't kind of show out until later on. It's, in life, possibly in that sense.
Electric shock therapy.
I don't really know too much about electric shock therapy.
My friend, can't remember what I called him in a book.
My friend.
Yeah, we'll go with my schizophrenic friend, who I'm not in touch with now. He was petrified of it. I can't remember what he said specifically, but I know he was petrified of it. And I know it's supposed to be pretty rough. And from what I read elsewhere, it can literally wipe your it frazzles your brain,
Yeah.
quite literally.
Yeah.
It either makes you a lot better or it makes you a lot worse.
That's what I'm led to believe, but I don't know too
So
much.
6 times in 1982, and I don't believe they'd have had that much experience with it in 1982 either. And this
Well,
gentleman